In this video, I'll be talking about theories of intelligence, and there are only two that I will discuss, and then in class we'll go into detail about implications connected to these theories. So the two theories that you need to know, one is Sternberg. We'll talk about Sternberg's theory, and the other one is Gardner. And if you learned about theories of intelligence in general psychology, then this should really just be a refresher. Sternberg's theory is the theory of triarchic intelligence. So if it's triarchic, it means there are three types. So Sternberg thinks there are three types of intelligence. You have creative, analytical, and practical. So creative intelligence, this is your ability to create, design, invent, imagine, think of new solutions for things, all of that fun stuff. Analytical intelligence, this is going to be your ability to analyze, evaluate, contrast. This could also be called book smarts. And then finally, you have practical intelligence. Practical intelligence is your ability to use, apply, implement. You could see this as street smarts. So these are all three types. You do need to know these three. The easiest way for me to remember them is to think about Sternberg putting on his thinking cap. So there are the creative, analytical, practical, Sternberg's triarchic theory. We'll go a little bit in depth on how this applies to our education system today, and specifically creativity and a couple types of thinking that relate to creativity versus analytical, divergent versus convergent thinking. So that will be a class discussion based on Sternberg. We also have Gardner's theory. Gardner, his theory of multiple intelligence says that originally he had 8, however there are 9, so I'm going to list all 9 for you instead of the 8 your book probably mentions. There are 9 types of intelligence. So I'll list the original 8, and then I will list that 9th. So one is linguistic or verbal skills. So if you are high in this, you're able to use words, use language to express meaning. You'd be a good poet. You'd be a good public speaker. You have mathematical, also called logical skills. This is going to be doing mathematical operations, but also logic plays a big part of that. That's really being able to understand if-then statements. So you'd be a good mathematician, but you'd also potentially be a good lawyer. You have spatial skills. This is your ability to think in 3 dimensions. So if you are high in spatial skills, potentially you'd be a good artist because you could really make a picture look 3D even though it's on a 2D canvas. You would be a good pilot. You'd be good at making video games. You'd be a good architect. Lots of abilities would connect with spatial. There is the bodily kinesthetic intelligence. This is your ability to manipulate objects, be physically skilled. So this would be a good dancer. This would be a good athlete. You can have musical skills. This is going to be someone who is good with melody, pitch, rhyme. So a good singer, someone who's good at playing piano, good with instruments, potentially the conductor of an orchestra. You have naturalist. Someone with high naturalist ability would be able to observe natures and patterns, be able to understand human systems. This would be a good farmer. This would be a good ecologist, a landscaper, a park ranger. All of those things would fall under the naturalist category. And then the other two of his original are interpersonal and intrapersonal. So the difference between inter and intra is inter means between and intra means within. So someone with high interpersonal intelligence is able to understand and interact well with others. So this would be a good marriage counselor. This would be a good motivational speaker. Someone with intrapersonal intelligence is able to understand oneself and direct one's own life. This would be a good individual therapist, potentially someone who's good. Well, human resources, you really have to be high in interpersonal and intrapersonal, but you're really self-aware if you have high intrapersonal intelligence. So again, he added a ninth, and that one is existentialist. Someone with high existentialist intelligence, this would be a good philosopher. This would be potentially a good theologian, someone who's able to think very abstractly, hypothetically, more in a philosophical way. So these are Gardner's 9. You do not need to memorize these 9. You do need to memorize Sternberg's 3, but you do not need to memorize Gardner's 9. And in class, we'll talk about how this connects with savant syndrome and how it connects to testing. So those are the two theories of intelligence that you need to know.